Room floor, where we just take a moment and drive a little bit deeper down in the Sunday experience. And so I've got Pastor Micah here. What a great weekend. I want to encourage you, if you haven't got a chance to catch the service, to go back and watch it online because it's so impacting. Yeah. You spent a lot of time and really gave the vision of how God has personally called you to begin a work, a church in downtown Phoenix.
Yeah.
And it is so encouraging just to see not only God move in somebody's life, but somebody that is willing to surrender to it.
Yeah.
And that's where I really want to go today is, God's called us to different things. All of them are great when we surrender to His will.
For sure.
His will is the best.
Yeah.
And you had one quote. I'm going to just throw it out there and just run with it at this point and just tell us a little more of the story of Phoenix. But there was one thing you said that I just took note. And you said that you were in a period of, you had certainty, but no peace, meaning life was comfortable, but you had no peace.
Yeah.
But then when you trusted God, stepped into uncertainty, you found peace.
Yeah.
Explain a little bit of what you meant by that.
It's kind of funny even now because when we structure our lives around, there are things that we have to have from a certainty perspective for just overall, whether it's emotional, mental, or physical or spiritual health. And so for us, when we were weighing that decision, it was like, oh, we're going to have none of those things. So it's just funny to and by none of those things, don't get me wrong, we knew we would have support. So we knew that we heard God clearly.
Okay.
We knew that God would take care of us. And we had some things where I didn't even share this in the service, where the Lord had done things that had set us up to be able to make this move. And when I talk about leaving a place with all certainty and no peace, it's when comfort, there are levels of comfort within faith, but that's not a foundational element of faith.
Correct.
And a lot of people, what they want is they want comfort to be a foundational element rather than hey, it's a byproduct of faith.
Yes.
Is after you exercise it, the comforter, the Holy Spirit, right? He's the one who sustains. And so for us, it's kind of crazy because the context of our life, looking back, when I said to take the step, I didn't realize the depths of what God had already provided. For instance, I bought, you'll get a kick out of this, I bought a house at a garage sale.
No.
On my life. So the house me and my wife lived in St. Joe, I had walked through 5 or 6 years ago, didn't need a house, but I'm walking through and it's a beater house in a really nice area of St. Joe. And I remember asking if the owner was there, and the owner he was, and I said, hey, are you selling this house? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, you can't sell it conventionally because it's too beat up. Or how are you selling it? Well, I'm looking to just sell it to somebody for cash, and somebody who we like, and somebody who it's been in the family. We could come and see renovations, and somebody who's not just trying to make quick money on it. And I said, well, I'll do all those things. And he was like, well, how much do you want it for? And long story short, we'd bought it for less than $50,000, which in this market, you understand.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so what's funny is we lived there for 3 or 4 years, and then all of a sudden, I'm always wondering, God, how did I just get this house? And now we can sell that house. We can move. We can buy a house. We've set ourselves up. So not to mention a big thing for me is always leading from a place of rest.
Right.
Which, as you know, right, in culture today and in really Christian leadership, you can tell the people who maybe don't lead from it and even some of the tough situations.
It's a living example of Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, and in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He'll direct your paths.
Oh, for sure.
But you said something that I just went, you said, we knew God would take care of us. We knew God was going before us. What advice do you give for somebody that is struggling to take that first step where they're not as confident of knowing God's going to take that first step? How do you get it? How do you get there?
I would say that for us, it really comes because our decision process took place over a year's amount of time. So I love too, because it's not an emotional whim. You're going to submit it to the Lord. And not only that, what a lot of people don't know is even our transition. Not only did, and this is kind of the long answer to this, our transition. The decision took a year, but our transition took another year, where I went to my dad and I said, for 6 months, I will do whatever is needed.
That
and
is
for
awesome.
another 6 months, I will live in Phoenix for 3 weeks and come back here 1 week out of the month to make sure everything that it will be running smooth on my behalf. So it was a 2-year transition process. And I would say this is, if you are feeling like you need to make a decision, but it's not honoring, and it's not necessarily like it. What I would say is, if you feel like you have to rush to make a decision and then leave everything behind to step into that decision, I would say that that's not necessarily stewardship or following the Lord, because
Wow.
God cares about that stuff.
Yep.
And for us, the greatest thing that we did is we transitioned with honor, we transitioned with respect, and also because of that, people gave, because they said, these people aren't just
Yes.
leaving us high and dry.
Yep.
They're not just coming behind closed doors and hitting us up for cash or blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
But a lot of people, we want to leave so quick that
Yep.
we slam doors shut. We want to
Yep.
leave so quick that we fray relationships. We want to make these impulsive decisions because change is fun and it feels good, but really sustainable change, and I don't even know if this answers your question, really to me, sustainable, like healthy change is when you honor the past and you look forward to the future. And so
That's what we call a mic drop right there. And I love that, because if honor is your guide, you can be faithful, and God will honor your work if
Yeah.
you honor him.
Yeah.
So that's a good word. Hey, if you know somebody that can benefit from this, we want you to share this. If you got a comment, a question, go ahead and drop a comment or question. I'll be sure to follow up with it. But this was the Cutting Room Floor. Good friend, Pastor Micah. Exciting work going on in Phoenix. We can't wait to hear more of what's going on. And we're going to see you next week on the Cutting Room Floor.